Hey there. So, Testodren, huh? You're curious about this article from topnaturalhealth.com, the one that's making some bold promises about turning back the clock.
Yeah, sounds familiar.
Well, on today's deep dive, we're going to try to separate the marketing hype from what the science actually says about Testodren. And hey, if after this deep dive you decide to give it a try yourself, topnaturalhealth.com is offering some special promo code pricing for our listeners.
Definitely worth checking out.
Now, this whole topic of testosterone, it's something that a lot of men, especially as they hit the 40s and beyond, really start to think about, right?
Oh, sure.
I mean, you start hearing about low T and how it can impact like everything from your energy to your muscle mass. And this article really paints a pretty dramatic picture of it all. So from a purely scientific standpoint, what's actually going on with testosterone as men age?
Well, the science does show us that as men get older, testosterone levels do naturally decline. But it's not just about like the numbers themselves, right? It's about how that decline actually impacts a man's daily life. We're talking about things like potential dips in energy, noticeable changes in your body composition, like you said. Maybe it's harder to pack on muscle, or you're carrying a bit more fat than you used to. Some men even experience mood swings.
Yeah, you don't always think about that.
And these aren't just like abstract concepts. These are really real changes that can have a big impact on a man's overall quality of life.
So this isn't just marketing hype. There's a real biological process at play here. And that's where testosterone swoops in, claiming to be the natural solution. Right?
Yeah.
The article really pushes this ingredient called Fenugreek as like the key to unlocking higher testosterone levels. They even throw out this big stat, a 72.87% increase in free testosterone based on their clinical trials. I mean, that's a massive jump. What do we make of that?
It definitely grabs your attention, right?
For sure.
But let's break that down a bit. When we're talking about testosterone, it's important to distinguish between total testosterone and free testosterone.
Okay.
Total testosterone is essentially the overall amount of testosterone in your system. But a good chunk of that is actually down to proteins in your blood. Free testosterone, on the other hand, is the testosterone that's not bound, it's freely available for your body to actually use.
So even if someone's total testosterone levels look okay on paper, their free testosterone could still be low, and that's what's really affecting them.
You got it. And that's where this whole Fenugreek thing comes in. The idea is that it can actually help to increase the amount of free testosterone in your system. Now, there have been some studies done on Fenugreek and its potential effects on testosterone levels, but we really need to dissect those studies to see what's what. Like, what methods did they use? Were the studies well-designed and well-controlled? How big were the sample sizes? All of that matters.
So it's not just about like boosting testosterone in general. It's about making sure you've got enough of that free testosterone that your body can actually put to use.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense. But I'm also picking up on how much this article plays up the whole natural angle. Like, just because Testodren uses fenugreek, which comes from a plant that automatically makes it better or safer than other options out there.
Yeah, that's something you see a lot in marketing for these kinds of products. And it's definitely something to watch out for. Just because something is natural doesn't necessarily mean it's risk-free or superior. Fenugreek, like a lot of natural substances, can interact with certain medications or might be a bad idea if you have certain health conditions.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Huh. It's easy to get caught up in that idea of something being natural without looking at the whole picture.
Okay.
Okay, so let's say I'm skeptical of the marketing hype. Let's talk about those benefits the article is highlighting. Increased muscle mass, more energy. They even talk about it boosting your libido. It all sounds pretty great.
It does.
But what does the actual research say about all of that? Are those claims realistic?
I think it's super important to approach those kinds of claims with a healthy dose of skepticism. While some people might see improvements in those areas, it's definitely not a guarantee. A lot of it comes down to individual factors, genetics, your overall health, your lifestyle, even your diet plays a role. Supplements can definitely be part of a healthy lifestyle, but they're not a magic solution.
So you're saying it's not as easy as just taking a pill and bam, suddenly you're like a younger, more energetic version of yourself.
Exactly. It's all about managing expectations. Testodren could have benefits for some people, but it's not some kind of fountain of youth in a bottle.
Right, it's not a magic bullet. Okay, so speaking of managing expectations, the article mentions these clinical trials that supposedly show some pretty impressive results. But we've talked about how it's important to dig a little deeper, right? What should people be looking for when they see those big flashy stats about how well a supplement works?
You're right on the money. Being an informed consumer is so important. And that means looking at the information critically. First off, where is that information coming from? Is it from a reputable scientific journal, or is it coming straight from the company that's trying to sell you something? Then you got to look at the study design itself. Was it a randomized controlled trial? That's like the gold standard when it comes to research. How many people were actually in the study? And were those results statistically significant, meaning the results weren't just due to random chance?
So look for those things that make the research more believable.
Exactly.
It's like we're doing our own detective work here.
That's a great way to put it. And just like a detective, you want to gather evidence from different sources. Don't just rely on what the product's website or their marketing materials are telling you.
Right, get the full story.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say someone's listening to us right now and they're thinking, all right, testosterone sounds interesting. I'm thinking about giving it a shot. What are some of the key takeaways here? Like, what are the things they should really be thinking about before they make that decision?
Well, I think the biggest thing is remembering what we talked about earlier. Manage those expectations. Testosterone isn't some magical fix for all of the hormonal changes that come with aging. It might have a place in a more well-rounded approach to health and wellness.
But it's not going to be the be-all and end-all.
Right. It's not a substitute for the basics. A balanced diet, regular exercise, enough sleep, and finding healthy ways to manage stress. Those are the things that have a huge impact on hormone balance and your overall health.
Yeah, you can't underestimate those foundational things.
Exactly. And this last one, it's so important. I always say it, talk to your doctor. They're the ones who can look at your specific situation, think about any health conditions you might have or medications you're taking, and really help you figure out if testosterone is a safe and potentially helpful option for you.
Absolutely. Talking to your doctor is a must. They're on your team. Well, there you have it, everyone. Our deep dive into testosterone. We've talked about how testosterone works, those claims about Fenugreek, and why it's so important to think critically when you're looking at supplements. And remember, if you want to learn more about testosterone, you can head over to topnaturalhealth.com. Don't forget about that promo code pricing they've got going on. But before you click that add to cart button, do your homework, weigh the potential benefits and the risks. And like we said, talk to your healthcare provider. Your health is your most important asset, so make sure you're making choices that are right for you. That's all for today's deep dive. Until next time, stay curious.